From the facts of the case as laid before this court, this is what I find to be the prosecution case. That the deceased persons, namely Eteku Gideon, aged 2 years and 6 months, Keisha Agenoroth Otim, aged 1 year and 11 months, Ignitia Selyange, aged 2 years and 4 months, and Odeke Ryan, aged 1 year and 3 months, were under the care of Ggaba Early Childhood Development Center. And in this case, I will keep referring to it as the center. It is a daycare facility under the management of Ggaba Community Church at Ggaba Trading Zone, Ggaba Parish, Makindye Division, Kampala District. And Ggaba Early Childhood Development Project is run by Ggaba Community Church and operated at Ggaba Early Childhood Development Center, located at Ggaba Trading Zone, Ggaba Parish, Makindye Division, Kampala District.
Oludo lwabi lwaleeta obujulizi okulaga nti abaana bano abana asooka Eteku yali wa myaka 2 n'emyezi 6, owokubiri Keisha yali wa mwaka gumu n'emyezi 11, owokusatu Seryange yali wa myaka 2 n'emyezi 4, asembayo Odeke Ryan yali wa mwaka gumu n'emyezi 3, nga bonna baali mu ssomero lya Ggaba Childhood Development Center, ate ajja kusigala nga agisoma nga center, ate nga essomero lino liri wansi wa church ya Ggaba Community Church nga lisangibwa Ggaba mu Makindye Division, Kampala District.
Keisha Agenoroth Otim was female, while the 3 deceased persons were male. The other 3 were male. And the center was founded by Ggaba Community Church and operates a daycare and an early childhood program for the vulnerable and malnourished children who are identified from the community. The children under the daycare program pay some money, while those ones, the vulnerable, do not pay. Ignitia Seryange, Gideon Eteku were among the vulnerables, while Odeke Ryan and Keisha Agenroth Otim were under the daycare program.
Nti Keisha yali mwana muwala, abalala baali balenzi, nga bonna essomero lino lyali wansi wa church ya Ggaba Community Church, ate nga baali balina daycare ate n'okukuumirawo abaana abaali batalina mwasirizo, nga babajjanga mu bantu ne babalabirira, ate nga bagamba baali mu daycare baali basasula, ate be bajjanga mu bantu nga tebasasula.
Christopher Okello Onyum, who I will keep referring to as the accused person going forward, is a male adult, an American citizen by nationality and a Ugandan by birth. He holds 2 American passports, and those passports were admitted in court as exhibits.
Omuwawaabirwa bamuyita Christopher Okello Onyum, era tujja kusigala nga tumuyita muwawaabirwa, nga musajja mukuru mutuuze wa America naye nga bamuzaalira mu Uganda, alina passport 2 nga za America ate zonna bazireeta mu buzibiti.
On 31st March 2026, the accused person hired a motor vehicle RAV4 for self-drive. On Wednesday, 1st April 2026, the accused person drove from Namugela Cross, Chanja, where he was residing, to the center, where he met one of the caretakers, Miss Phoebe Namtevi, who testified as PW6.
Nti ng'ennaku z'omwezi 31 ogwokusatu 2026, omuwawaabirwa yapangisa emmotoka kika kya RAV4 ng'agenda gyevugira, era nga lumu ogwokuna 2026 yavuga okuva Namugera Cross Ekyanja gye yali abeera n'atuuka ku ssomero eryo erya center n'asinkana omukyala gwe bayita Phoebe.
And she testified as the prosecution witness number 6.
Ate yajja n'awa obujulizi ng'omujulizi w'omukaaga ku lw'oludda olwabi.
The accused person remained outside the gate, and Miss Namtevi went to the gate to find out whether he needed help. And the accused person informed her that he had a child aged 3 years and required an admission for her. He asked for the requirements, was informed, and promised to go and prepare to to return and make the necessary payments.
Nti yasigala wabweru wa gate okutuusa Phoebe lwe yagenda n'amubuuza oba asobola okumuyamba. Bwe yamubuuza n'amuddamu nti yali alina omwana w'emyaka 3 yali ayagala kumuyingiza essomero era n'amubuulira biki byali byetaagisa kwe kugamba nti kugenda yeetegeke akomewo.
The next day, the 2nd of April 2026, at about 11 a.m., the accused person returned to the center, and when Namuteri saw him, she went to the gate, and the accused person informed her that he had returned to make the payments as he had promised the previous day. PW6 opened the gate for the accused person and brought him to the office of the coordinator of the center, known as Miss Annette Odong Agoye, who testified as PW7.
Nti nga 2 ogwokuna 2026 ssaawa nga 5 ez'okumakya omuwabirwa yakomawo n'atuuka ku geeti. Phoebe n'amulaba. Bwe yamulaba n'amugamba nti yali aze kusasula era n'amugulirawo geeti n'amutwala mu ofiisi yali akulira ssente eyo gwe bayita Annette Adong era yajja wano okuwa obujulizi ng'omujulizi w'omusanvu ku lw'oludda olwabi.
Miss Namuteri introduced the accused to Miss Annette and informed her of their encounter and conversation the previous day. Miss Odong welcomed him and also interviewed him pertaining to the details of the child to be enrolled. The accused person inquired about the requirements and he was informed that he needed to pay a total of Uganda shillings 190,000, which would cover the registration, daycare fees, and uniform.
Nti Phoebe yayanjulira omuwabirwa n'amuwanjulira Annette n'amugamba nti baali boogedde ejjo era oli n'amwaniriza n'amubuuza ebikwata ku mwana gwe yali aleeta era n'amala n'amubuulira biki byali byetaagisa n'amugamba nti yali alina okusasula emitwalo 19 nga giriko egy'okumuwandiisa omwana kuliko ejja daycare n'eza uniform.
The accused person, who said he had no cash on him, asked whether he could pay using mobile money, and he did so on the telephone number of Miss Annette.
Nti yagamba yali tatambudde na ssente nkalu n'asaba nti ssente aziteeke ku mobile money era n'aziteeka ku mobile money ya Annette.
PW7, that is Annette, asked PW6 to issue the accused person with a receipt, and the same was issued to him, and it was receipt number 2958 in the name of Zuriel Onyum.
Nti Annette kwe kusaba Phoebe nti amuwandiikire risiiti era n'awandiika risiiti nga yali mu mannya ga Zuriel Onyum.
The accused then left the office promising to return with the child and the mother on Tuesday the following week. And I take notice that this was the week of Easter and the next working day was Tuesday of the following week.
Nti era yavaawo n'abasuubiza nti agenda kujja n'omwana ne maama w'omwana wiiki eddako olwokubiri era ow'ekitiibwa omulamuzi alabye nti eyo yali wiiki ya Easter n'olwekyo olunaku olulala lw'okukola lwali lwakubiri.
The accused person then walked out heading towards the gate as Miss Namuteri, who was still in the office of Miss Annette, bent down to keep the receipt booklet in the drawer.
Era yatambula ng'adda ku geeti Namuteri yali asigadde mu ofiisi ng'akyateeka receipt mu drawer.
At that time, some children were in the compound playing, and as Miss Namuteri rose up to look towards the gate so as to go and open for the accused person to exit the center, she saw the accused person bending while holding a child, and she thought that he was beating the child. She ran outside to establish why he was beating the child, only to reach there and find that the accused person, who was holding a knife, had already cut the neck of one child, and this child was Keisha.
Nti bwe yabadde afuluma abaana abamu baali wabweru nga bazannya nti era Phoebe bwe yagenda okusituka ng'agamba agenda aggulewo geeti omuwabirwa afulume n'atunulira mu ddinisa n'alaba ng'omuwabirwa akutamye ng'akuta omwana n'asooka n'alowooza nti oli yali akuba omwana, n'adduka kumubuuza lwaki yali akuba omwana, n'asanga nga yali alina akambe ng'amaze okusala Keisha.
And she was lying in a pool of blood, and the accused person at that time was reaching out for another child.
Yali mu kitaba ky'omusaayi ate omuwawaabirwa yali agenda ku mwana omulala.
Miss Phoebe asked the accused person why he was cutting the children, and she also threw one of the children's bicycles, which were in the compound, at him to scare him off. The accused person left the child and ran after her, threatening to cut her as well.
Nti Phoebe bwe yamubuuza lwaki yali asala abaana n'amukanyugira n'akagaali abaana ke bali bazanyisa, n'asooka n'akaleka n'adduka n'amugoba n'adduka.
Miss Phoebe ran away from the accused person while making an alarm, but she fell down, and the accused person ran back to the children very fast. And by the time Miss Phoebe returned to prevent or stop him from cutting the children, she found when he had cut the second child, and she again threw a bicycle at him as he was pursuing the third child.
Nti bwe yamugoba oli n'adduka ng'akuba emiranga, oluvannyuma n'agwa. Bwe yamala okugwa ono n'addayo mangu n'adda ku baana n'akwata omwana owokubiri n'amusala.
The accused person again ran after Miss Phoebe, and when she fell down, he drew the knife, threatening to cut her as well.
Nti era n'amukanyugira akabugaala akalala, bwe yakamuganyugira oli n'addamu n'amugoba n'adduka, era yagenda okulaba ng'akuta omwana omulala.
The accused person then left Miss Phoebe and went back to the children, and when she rose up, she found him cutting the last child, and the last child to be cut was Odeke Ryan.
Nti era yamala n'amuleka, oli bwe yagwa n'agenda okusituka n'asanga ng'asaza omwana owasembayo, ate yali asembayo baali bamuyita Odeke Ryan.
At that time, Miss Annette, who also witnessed the cutting of some of the children together with other caretakers, were making alarms which attracted one Cyrus Kenya, who arrested the accused person. He was joined by Moses, the security guard, Bashir, and Timothy. When he was being arrested, the accused person threw the knife over the chain link fence. The accused was immediately locked up in the guardhouse at the gate to keep him away from the angry crowd which had formed at that time. And upon his arrest, the accused person was found with 2 new knives in his socks, and they were recovered from him.
Nti Annette naye yali alabye nga asala abaana abamu ne keyateeka omulala eyaliwo, baakuba enduulu, era bwe baakuba enduulu, Cyrus Bukenya, Moses eyali omukuumi, Bashiru ne Timothy bajja. Bwe baamala okujja, oli n'abalaba n'asuula akambe n'akasuula wabweru wa geeti, era ne bamukwata ne bamugalira mu kayumba ak'omukuumi nga bamutaasa abantu abaali batandise okujja. Era bwe bamukwata ne basanga nga yali alina obwambe bubiri bupya mu stockings ze.
3 of the attacked children, namely Eteku Gideon, Kisha Agenroth Otim, and Ignatius Seryange, were rushed to Wenzi Medical Center, which is about 300 meters away from the center, hoping to save their lives. However, they were pronounced dead on arrival.
Abaana abasatu, Eteku, Keisha ne Seryange, baabatwala ku ddwaliro lya Wenzi Medical Center nga balowooza bayinza okubataasa, naye bwe baatuuka ne bagamba nti bali bafudde.
Ryan Odeke, who was clearly dead, was left at the veranda but was also later taken to Wenzi Medical Center by police.
Ryan Odeke eyali asigadde naye nga yali afudde, baali bamulese ku kabalaza, naye oluvannyuma naye baamutwala ku ddwaliro lya Wenzi.
The dead bodies of the 4 children were then taken to Mulago, Kampala, capital city mortuary by police, and post-mortem examinations were done on them by Dr. Katongole Abdul, who described the injuries on all the bodies of the 4 children to have been on the necks, and concluded that the cause of death for the 4 children was hypovolemic shock due to deep cut injuries to the neck.
Nti emirambo gino oluvannyuma bagitwala e Mulago mu ggwanika, era omusawo gwe bayita Katongole n'akebera emirambo n'annyonnyola nti bonna baali balina Bali balina obuvunne mu bulago ate n'agamba nti ekyabaviirako okufa baabafumita nnyo ne bavaamu omusaayi mungi.
The police officers from Kabalagala Divisional Police visited the center, which they termed as the primary scene of crime, and recovered the killer knife and the two other knives and a backpack which was also recovered on the accused person, picked some suspected blood from the compound, among others.
Nti abasirikale ba poliisi e Kabalagala bagenda mu kifo ekyo we batira abaana ne bajjayo obwambe bwe basangawo ne bajjayo n'ensawo omuwawaabirwa gye yali alina era ne batwalako n'omusaayi gwali mu luggya.
The samples recovered were subjected to DNA analysis and the report was admitted in evidence.
Nti omusaayi ogwo bagutwala ne bagukebera era ebyava mu kukebera babireeta ng'obujulizi.
The police officers also removed the accused person from the guardhouse at the center amidst the angry crowd which desired to lynch him, and they took him to Kabalagala police station.
Omuwawaabirwa baamugya mu kayumba k'omukuumi era ne bamukuuma abantu abaali batuusawo nga bagala kumutta ne bamutwala ku poliisi e Kabalagala.
On 3rd April 2026, the accused person led the investigating team to his house, which he had rented in Chanja at Namugera Close, Katumba Zone. A search was conducted in the accused's house, and a number of items were recovered, which included electronic devices, 2 laptops, 2 mobile phones, and 3 hard drives, which were subjected to forensic analysis, and a digital analysis report was also admitted as evidence.
Nga 3 Ogwokuna 2026 omuwawaabirwa yakulemberamu abali banoonyereza omusango guno n'abatwala mu nnyumba ye gye yali apangisa e Chanja era bwe bayingira ennyumba ne bajjaaza bajjamu ebintu nga laptop 2, amasimu n'ebintu ebirala.
The other items recovered were 2 American passports, a driver's license from the state of Virginia, a sanity report dated 30th December 2025, and 5 new knives, among others.
Nti ebintu ebirala bye bajjamu passports 2 eza America, bajjamu permit wa driving permit, ne bajjamu obwambe 5, ne bajjamu ne report gye bali bamuwandiikidde okuva mu ddwaliro nga bagamba omutwe gwe gwali gukola bulungi.
The accused was examined on police form 24 by Dr. Emmanuel Nwamanya, who testified as PW11, and he was found to be mentally normal. It was upon that background that the accused was indicted for murder in 4 counts, hence this case.
Nti omuwawaabirwa bamutwala ne bamukebera ate yamukebera yali mu sawo gwe bayita Emmanuel Nwamanya era yajjanga omujulizi w'oludda olwabi ow'okumi oluvannyuma ne bamuteekako emisango 4 gya butemu.
Okay. The accused person gave an unsworn statement and called 2 witnesses in his defense. He had mentioned 4 witnesses but provided only the telephone numbers but without any physical address. Only 2 witnesses were reached using the telephone numbers provided by the accused person, and efforts to trace the 2 were futile because the phone numbers were not on.
Nti omuwawaabirwa yayogera nga talayidde era n'aleeta abajulizi 2, yali asabye okuleeta abajulizi 4 naye nga tataddeeko wa gye bali babeera n'ateekako amasimu gaabwe gokka. Okukuba amasimu 2 be basobola okujja, 2 amasimu gaabwe gali tegaliiko.
It is important to note here that one of the 2 numbers that he had provided that could not be reached was an American number.
Naye tulina okumanya nti mu masimu ago 2 emu yali ya America.
In his defense, the accused person did not deny killing the 4 children, but stated that he did not act intentionally or deliberately.
Mu kwewozaako teyagaana nti omusango teyagukola, wabula yagamba nti teyagukola mu bugenderere.
He stated that although there were claims that he was completely mentally okay, there may have been other mental challenges that may have gone undetected and could have contributed to the death of the children.
agamba nti wadde bagamba nti omutwe gwe gwali gukola bulungi naye wayinza okubaawo ebintu ebirala bye bataalaba okulaga nti biyinza okuba nga bye byamuviirako okutta abaana abo.
He said he was not mentally okay, and he also denied being foul-minded in the killing of the children.
Agamba nti omutwe gwe gwali tegukola bulungi era agamba nti si yeeyagalira okutta abaana bano.
In respect to this, he referred to the book about war, which was part of the evidence of PW18, the digital analyst, who analyzed his flash disk and found that he had saved a book entitled The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The accused person stated that he saved that file long before, and it cannot be said to apply to the killing of the children.
Nti waliwo ekitabo omujulizi ow'okumi-na-mukaaga olw'oludda olwabiri kyeyayogera omujulizi ow'okumi-na-munaana yayogera ku kitabo ky'olutalo era n'agamba nti ono yali yakiteeka ku flash ye n'agamba nti ekyo kitabo yali yakiteekako edda tekisobola kubeera nga kyekyaviirako okutta abaana bano.
He also denied being deliberate and with forethought while making reference to the prosecution evidence of PW18, which revealed that using his phone, the accused person had made Google searches on subjects including ISIS beheading and for schools that teach young children. He said that although these searches suggest that he did it deliberately, there were factors that forced him to conduct them.
Nti ye yagaana ekyokugamba nti abaana bano yabatta nga kigenderedde n'agamba nti omujulizi ow'okumi-na-munaana yagamba nti yakozesa essimu ye okukebera ebikwata ku ekitongole ekitema emitwe gy'abantu ekibayita ISIS ng'anoonyereza ku masomero g'abaana abato n'agamba nti
he said that although these searches suggest that he did it deliberately, there were other factors that forced him to conduct those searches.
Nti wadde bagamba nti bino bye byanoonyerezaako bye byamuleetera okutta abaana abo waliwo ebintu ebirala ebyamuleetera okutta abaana.
During his testimony, the accused person further stated that he was under the control of some people whom he occasionally called friends, and that they fell into three categories. He stated that between January and March 2026, he entered an especially distressing period because he was contending with some people who were surveilling him, making many demands of him, and threatening to kill him. They began demanding money, and he noticed that they had all the capabilities. As a result, he left the Bunga neighborhood where he was staying and began sleeping on the streets.
Nti omuwawaabirwa yagamba nti bino byonna yabikola olw'ensonga nti waliwo abantu be yali ng'alaba engeri ssatu be yannyonnyolako n'agamba nti wakati wa January n'omwezi ogwokusatu yali mu kiseera ky'okwennyamira era ng'agamba abantu abo bamusabanga ebintu bingi ne bamusaba ssente ne bamugamba nti bagenda kumutta era n'ava mu kitundu kye yali abeeramu n'agenda n'atandika okubeera ku luguudo.
He stated that because of this, he tried to end it some way and somehow. And according to him, he tried several things to bring the whole thing to an end, including fleeing the country, robbing a bank, and killing his brother's family. He then concluded by saying that those said people whose names he chose not to disclose to the court influenced his actions of the 2nd of April 2026. He concluded his testimony by inviting the court not to honor the charges for murder against him because there were some circumstances that forced him to act the way he did on 2nd April 2026, and this is the date of the unfortunate incident.
Nti yatuuka ekiseera ng'ayagala kubikomekereza n'agezaako okwagala kuva mu ggwanga n'agezaako okubba bbanka era n'agezaako n'okutta famire ya muganda we n'agamba nti abantu abo batayogera mu kooti be bamuviirako okutta abaana abo oba bye byamuviirako ebyo byatuukawo nga 2 Ogwokuna 2026.
Okay, there is a burden and standard of proof. This is known. The prosecution bears the burden to prove the all the ingredients of the offense, all in 4 counts beyond reasonable doubt, and I will skip that and I go to the ingredients of the offense of murder.
Oludda oluwaabi lwe lulina obuvunaanyizibwa okuleeta obujulizi obumala.
Section 171 of the Penal Code Act, Chapter 128, which defines the offense of murder, provides that any person who, with malice aforethought, causes the death of another person by an unlawful act or omission commits murder.
Nti amateeka gagamba nti omuntu yenna ng'alina ekigendererwa n'atta omuntu mu bumenyi bw'amateeka aba atemudde omuntu.
For the accused person to be convicted of murder, the prosecution must prove each of the following essential ingredients beyond reasonable doubt. 1, death of a human being, that the death was caused by some unlawful act, that the unlawful act was actuated by malice aforethought, and that it is the accused person who caused the unlawful act of death.
Nti oludda oluwaabi lulina okuleeta obujulizi okukakasa nti mu butuufu waliwo okufa, nti okufa okwo kwali kumenya amateeka, nti ate okufa okwo nti yakukola yali alina ekigendererwa, era abalina okuleeta obujulizi nga bulaga nti omuntu ali mu kooti ye yazza emisango gino.
I will discuss all the 4 counts together because they are supported by the same evidence. However, the third ingredient of the unlawful act being actuated by malice aforethought shall be addressed last.
Nti emisango gyonna ajja kugyogerako omulundi gumu okuggyako ekigendererwa kyagenda okwogerako kyokka nga kyawukanye n'ebiri.
And I will do it last.
Kyagenda okusembyayo.
Death of a human being or human beings. Death may be proved by production of a postmortem report or evidence of witnesses who state that they knew the deceased and attended the burial, also the dead body. And in the instant case, the fact that the infants, Eteku, Gideon, Keisha, Ageno Roth, or Tim, Ignatius, Seriang, and Odeke Ryan are dead is not in dispute. And in proof of this, the prosecution adduced the evidence of Dr. Katongole Abdul, who performed the postmortem examinations on the bodies of the 4 children, and he confirmed that they were dead. The parents of these children, namely Apollo Stella is the mother of Eteku Gideon, Komakech Marvin is the father of Kisha, and Bazira Rollins is the father of Seriange, and Okurutu Simon is the father of Ryan Odeke. They all confirmed that their children died and they were buried.
Nti kukyokulaga okufa basobola okulabira ku baruwa omusawo gy'awandiika nga bamaze okukebera emirambo, obujulizi bw'abantu abaali bamanyi abantu bano ate ne babaziika. Bagamba nti Eteku, Keisha, Seriange ne Odeke okufa kwabwe bonna tebakuwakanya, kubanga omusawo gwe bayita Katongole yakola ripooti nga akakasa nti abaana bano baafa, ate n'abazadde b'abaana bonna bajja ne bawa obujulizi ne bakakasa nti abaana bano baafa.
Also, the evidence of one of the caretakers, Miss Namtevi Phoebe, and the coordinator of the center, Miss Aneta Goye, who were the eyewitnesses to the attack on the children that resulted in their death, also confirmed that they are dead. And the prosecution also adduced the evidence of this divisional CID officer, Kabalagala, called Esserite James. He testified as PW 15, and the scenes of crimes officer, he testified as PW 14. They testified that they saw the bodies of the 4 children.
Nti Phoebe ne Annette be baaliwo nga balaba omuwawabirwa ng'asala abaana abo ne kibaviirako okufa, era bajja mu kooti ne bakakasa nti abaana baali bafudde, era ne baleeta abajulizi ow'oku15 n'ow'oku14. Ow'oku15 yakuyira okunoonyereza emisango mu Kabalagala, ne baleeta n'oyagenda gye bakoledde emisango, era ne bakakasa nti bwe baatuuka mu kifo ekyo balaba abaana abo nga bafudde.
Having considered the evidence and in agreement with the joint opinion of the 3 assessors, I find that the prosecution has proved beyond reasonable doubt that the 4 infants, namely Eteku Gideon, Keisha Agenroth Otim, Seriang Ignatius, and Odeke Ryan are dead.
Okusinziira ku bujulizi akaanyiza ne ba assessor bwe bagambye nga bagamba nti abaana bana Eteku, Keisha, Seriange ne Odeke baafa.
Also, the fact that the death was unlawful is also not disputed, given the account of the eyewitnesses to the offense and the nature of the injuries on the bodies of the 4 children.
Nekyokugamba nti oba baafa mu bumenyi bw'amateeka nakyo tebakiwakanya olw'ensonga nti waliwo obujulizi bwabo abaaliwo ne balaba ate n'ebiwundu abaana be baabasanga nabyo.
And having considered the evidence and in agreement with the joint opinion of the 3 assessors, I find that the prosecution has also proved this ingredient beyond reasonable doubt that Eteku Gideon, Keisha Agenroth Otim, Seriang Ignatius, and Odeke Ryan, their death was caused by an unlawful act.
N'olwekyo Oweekitiibwa Omulamuzi akaanyiza ne ba assessor bwe baamuwabula nga bagamba nti Eteku, Keisha, Seriange ne Odeke nti okufa kwabwe kwali kumenya amateeka, n'olwekyo obujulizi bumala okulaga nti mu butuufu abaana bano baafa mu bumenyi bw'amateeka.
The participation of the accused person, in order to prove participation, there should be credible, direct or circumstantial evidence placing the accused person at the scene of the crime as an active participant in the commission of the offense.
Ekyokulaga nti oba omuwawaabirwa ali mu kooti eyaza omusango balina okuleeta obujulizi obulaga nti omuntu ono ye yatta abantu bano obuliwo oba obujulizi obwetoolodde embeera ezaaliwo.
And in the instant case that the participation of the accused person is not contested because the accused person himself did not deny having killed these children.
Nti mu musango guno ekyokubanga ye yatta abaana omuwawaabirwa takiwakanisa.
I will proceed to also to look at the evidence that the prosecution produced to support the fact that it was the accused person who killed these 4 children. The offense occurred in broad daylight, specifically at 11 a.m. or thereabouts. The accounts of the eyewitnesses to the crime, namely Miss Phoebe Namtevi and Miss Annette Odong Agoye, the caretaker and coordinator respectively, revealed that the accused person with whom they had just been interacting in the office of Miss Annette was seen gruesomely and brutally cutting the 4 children with a sharp knife, which he threw out of the chain link fence upon seeing the first responders to the scene.
Nti kooti egenda kutunuulira obujulizi oludda olwabi bwe bwaleeta era n'agamba nti ebintu bino byaliwo emisana zaali ssaawa 5 ez'okumakya nti ate waliwo abajulizi abaaliwo ne balaba nga Phoebe ne Annette nga abo bona bakolera essomero eryo ate ne bagamba nti omuwawaabirwa baali boogera naye era nga yali yakafuluma era ne bamulaba nga asala abaana abo oluvannyuma n'asuula akambe wabweru w'eggeeti.
The prosecution further adduced the evidence of the scenes of crimes officer, Mr. Mutaka Jim, his PW14, and Esserite James, the lead investigator, PW15, who testified the effect that they responded and went to the center, which they referred to as the primary scene, and they found that the accused person had already been arrested by the first responders and was being kept in the guardhouse to keep him away from the angry mob that wanted to lynch him. PW15 Esserite James then rearrested him and took him to Kabalagala police station.
Nti baleeta omujulizi ow'okuminabana ng'oyo yagenda mu bifo bye bazizaamu emisango bamuyita Mutaka Jim era ne baleeta n'omujulizi owa15 yeyo yakulira ebyokunoonyereza emisango ku poliisi y'e Kabalagala era nti badduka ne batuuka mu kifo ekyo bwe batuuka ne basanga omuwawaabirwa baali bamaze okumukwata nga bamuterese mu kayumba k'omukuumi nga bamutaasa ku bantu abaali baagala kumukuba era oluvannyuma omujulizi owa 15 n'addamu n'amukwata n'amutwala ku poliisi.
The prosecution also adduced forensic evidence that implicates the accused person by placing him at the scene of the crime, namely the evidence of AIP Odongo Emmanuel. He's a CCTV analyst, and he testified that police CCTV cameras on the roads and some private CCTV cameras showed that a motor vehicle RAV4 was seen being driven from Chanja, where the accused person was residing, through Nakawa until it reached Renewal Circle in Ggaba, where it was captured by the private camera of Renewal Circle on 1st April 2026.
Era baleeta obujulizi obulala obw'abakakensa ne baleeta omusirikale gwe bayita AIP Odongo Emmanuel ng'ono yeekebejja zi CCTV kamera oba kamera ez'okukubo era n'agamba nti mu kwekebejja yalaba emmotoka ekika kya RAV4 nga bagivuga kuva e Chanja bayita Nakawa ne batuuka ku Renewal Circle era ne kamera ya ku Renewal Circle n'emukwata nga 1/4/2026.
And this court takes judicial notice that the Renewal Circle, which is part of the Ggaba Community Church Complex, is directly behind the center.
Ate kooti eraba nti Renewal Circle nayo eri kumpi ne kanisa ya Ggaba Community Church ate eri kumpi n'essomero lino.
Upon parking the motor vehicle in the parking yard of Renewal Circle, the accused person was seen alighting from the vehicle and walking towards the center. This corroborates the evidence of PW6 Miss Phoebe, who testified that the accused person had come to the center on the 1st of April 2026 and had approached the gate of the center on foot. The accused person remained at the gate from where he had a conversation with PW6 regarding the requirements for enrolling his child at the center.
Ntera bagamba nti bwe yapaakinga ku Renewal Circle yatambula n'agenda ku ssomero eryo era kino kyongereza ku bujulizi bwa Phoebe eyagamba nti nga 1/2026 nti omuwawaabirwa yatambuliza ebigere n'atuuka ku geeti era ne boogera wamu ng'amubuuza biki ebyali byetaagisa okuleeta omwana.
The CCTV analysis report also revealed the accused person being ridden on a border on the day of the incident, 2nd April 2026, at 10:16:13. That is 10 o'clock, 16 minutes after 10 and 13 seconds. And he was carrying a black backpack.
Ntera report eyo eyazi kamera egamba nti omuwawaabirwa baamulaba ku lunaku olwo lwennyini ng'ali ku booda ng'azaali ssaawa 4:16 n'obusekenduzi 13 ng'ali yeetisse akasawo akaddugavu akasawo ak'oku mugongo.
While in court, the witness, who was PW13, played the footage and the images, which clearly confirmed the movement of the motor vehicle on the 1st of April 2026 and the border carrying the accused person on 2nd April 2026.
Era bwe baleeta ezikamera ezo ne baziraga kooti oyo omujulizi ow'e13 eyazireeta ne bakakasa engeri emmotoka ekika kya RAV4 kye yatambulamu nga 1/4/2026 era ne balaga ne boda bwe yatambula ng'emuleese nga 2/4/2026.
Whereas the defense counsel during his submissions claimed that the images were not clear, it is not true because the accused person could be clearly identified when he alighted the vehicle at Renewal Circle on 1st April 2026 and also while on a border on 2nd of April 2026.
Nti oludda olwawaabirwa abalooya bagamba nti ebifaananyi byali tebirabika bulungi naye baali si batuufu kubanga baamulaba bulungi ne bamwetegereza bwe yapaakinga ku Renewal Circle nga 1/4/2026 era ne baddamu ne bamulaba ng'ali ku booda nga 2/4/2026.
The prosecution had earlier on adduced the evidence of PW8 is called Hashim Juma, one of the directors of Trip Car Rental Uganda, who testified that the motor vehicle belongs to his company and the accused had hired it from him to be used on the 1st and 2nd of April 2026 on self-drive.
Nti baleeta omujulizi w'omunaana nga bamuyita Hashim Juma, ono yali yapangisa omwawaabirwa emmotoka ekika kya RAV4 yali yakozesebwa nga lumu n'olunaku z'omwezi 2 ogwokuna 2026 nga yali agenda gyevugira.
However, the accused person used the motor vehicle only on 1st April 2026 because it got mechanical defects. This testimony was corroborated by the CCTV evidence where the accused person was seen in the footage of 1st April 2026 pushing the vehicle at Shell Kitugum House, Ginger Road at 2 p.m. with the assistance of the staff of Shell.
Nti emmotoka yagikozesa nga lumu olw'okuna 2026 olwoka kubanga yamara nefuna ebizibu, era kino kyongerezebwako obujulizi obwa ono yaleeta obujulizi bwa kamera ng'agamba bamulaba ng'asindika eno emmotoka ku Shell Kitugum House, Ginger Road zaali ssaawa 8 ez'emisana nga bakola ku Shell be bamuyambako okugisindika.
The accused had earlier on called Hashim and told him about the faulty car, and Hashim had advised him to park it at Shell Kitugum House.
Nti yali yakubidde Hashim n'amugamba nti emmotoka yali efunye obuzibu era n'amugamba nti agipaakinge ku Shell ya ku Kitugum House.
In the footage of 2nd April 2026, the accused could be easily identified putting on a checkered black, white and grey shirt and black sunglasses when he was on a border.
Nti ku katambi ke baleeta ng'akaali ka 2 ogwokuna 2026 omwawaabirwa bamulaba bulungi ne bamutegeera kubanga yali ayambadde yali ayambadde esaati y'ebikuubo ate nga yali ayambadde ne galubindi.
And this is corroborated by the evidence of the SOCO, that is the scenes of crimes officer, and the investigator who recovered the said sunglasses stained with blood at the primary scene and took the said shirt from the accused person upon his arrest and submitted both items for the DNA analysis.
Kino kyongerezako obujulizi bw'oyo omupoliisi agenda mu bifo by'obazizaamu emisango kubanga bwe yatuuka mu kifo ekyo n'asanga galubindi ezaaliko omusaayi n'azigyayo era n'amugyako n'esaata eyo n'abisindika mu beekebeja ebintu ebyo.
The DNA analysis revealed that the cuttings from the shirt contained the DNA of the accused person, while the sunglasses, which were stained with blood, had mixed DNA of both the accused person and of Keisha again Roth, whose body had been labeled as body 39 by the scenes of crimes officer.
Nti mu ndagabutonde bwe bakebera esaati gye bajja ku muvunaanibwa bagikebera nga yaliko ondagabutondo ye era ne bakebera ne galubindi ne basanga nti waliwo endagabutonde ya omwawaabirwa ne ya Keisha ate nga Keisha omulambo gwe baali bagutaddeko namba 39.
Prosecution also adduced evidence that the accused person was cutting the children with a knife, which he threw over the chain link fence upon seeing the first responders at the scene. The knife was recovered by the scenes of crimes officer. It was a kitchen knife with a silver handle and black blade with the label reading Ming Feng. And while at the laboratory, a swab from the knife handle was taken and also a swab from the blade was taken. And it was established that the handle had a male DNA profile which belonged to the accused person.
nti obujulizi bwonna bugamba nti yali abaana bano ng'abasaza akambe era abantu bwe batandika okujja akambe n'akasuula wabweru wa geeti akambe kano kaliko ebigambo Ming Feng nti bwe baamala akambe ako ne bakatwala kukeekebeja bwe baamala okukeekebeja ne basanga nga waliwo endagabutonde z'omuwawaabirwa.
Also, the blood stains on the blade of the knife were for body 3 and body 37. And body 3 was for Odeke Ryan, while body 37 was for Seryange Ignatius.
Nti era ne akambe bakajjako omusaayi gwaliko ne bagenda kukeekebeja ne basangako endagamutonde za Ryan ne Seryange.
The accused, whereas the accused in his defense did not deny the killings of the children, the defense, this defense will be discussed at length while discussing the last ingredient.
Nti wadde muwawaabirwa teyeegaana ekyokutta abaana abo naye ensonga ye gye yawaayo Oweekitiibwa Omulamuzi agenda kugyogerako.
During the submissions of counsel for the accused person attempted to suggest that the accused person was not adequately implicated for the offense, and his argument was based on the fact that whereas PW6 and PW7 testified that they were first responders, namely Cyrus and Moses, who are said to have apprehended the accused person, and kept him in the guardhouse. None of those first responders was called as a witness. And he wondered where exactly the police found the accused person to rearrest him.
Nti abalooya nga bawabumbawumba obujulizi, looya w'omuwawaabirwa yagamba nti oludda olwabi lwalemererwa okuleeta obujulizi obumala okukakasa nti omuwawaabirwa ye yaza omusango guno, nti ng'agamba nti waliwo abantu abasooka okujja nga Cyrus ne Moses naye tebabaleeta mu kooti naye ne yeebuuza poliisi yamusangawa okumukwata.
I note that whereas it was prudent to have one of those witnesses to come to court, failure to have them did not affect the prosecution evidence. At least PW6 and PW7, that is Phoebe and Annette, testified that they saw the accused person being apprehended and being kept in the guardhouse, and PW15 and PW14, that is the investigator, the lead investigator, and the SOCO, the Scenes of Crimes officer, they confirmed finding the accused person having been arrested and kept in the guardhouse. That evidence was not challenged at all in cross-examination, and in light of all the other evidence placing the accused person at the primary scene of crime, it is my finding that the accused, that the evidence that the accused was apprehended in the act of slaughtering the children, kept in the guardhouse and later picked up by police is true.
Nti era bagamba Oweekitiibwa Omulamuzi agamba kituufu abano abantu abasooka okujja bandize mu kooti ne bawa obujulizi naye ne bwe baba nga tebaze kubanga Phoebe ne Annette bajja ne bawa obujulizi ne bagamba nti baaliwo era ne balaba nti bamukwata ne bamutereka mu kayumba k'omukuumi. Era waliwo obujulizi obulala bw'omujulizi ow'okumi-na-bana n'ow'okumi-na-bataano era bajja ne bagamba nti basanga nga omuwawaabirwa bamaze okumukwata ne bamutereka mu kayumba k'omukuumi. N'olwekyo okusinziira ku bujulizi Oweekitiibwa Omulamuzi agamba kituufu omuwawaabirwa bamukwatirawo ng'akola omusango ogwo era ne bamukwata ne bamutereka mu kayumba k'omukuumi.
In light of the above, it is the finding of this court, and in agreement with the joint opinion of the assessors, that the prosecution has proved beyond reasonable doubt that the accused person caused the death of the 4 children, namely Eteku Gideon, Keisha Agenrotho Tim, Seryange Ignatius, and Odeke Ryan.
N'olwekyo Oweekitiibwa Omulamuzi akkanyiza ne ba assessor bwe bamuwabula nga bagamba nti oludda olwabi luleese obujulizi obumala okulaga nti mu butuufu abaana bano Eteku, Keisha, Seryange ne Odeke baafa.
I will go to the last ingredient, and that is the ingredient of malice aforethought.
Kati agenda kwogera ku ky'okugamba nti eyatta abaana bano yali alina ekigendererwa.
Malice aforethought is defined in section 174 of the Penal Code Act. And the summary of it is that malice aforethought shall be deemed to be established by evidence provided for by the following circumstances. An intention to cause the death of any person, whether that person is the person actually killed or not. B, knowledge that the act or omission causing death will probably cause the death of some person, whether that person is the person actually killed or not, although the knowledge is accompanied by indifference, whether death is caused or not, or by a wish that it may not be caused. In summary, that you must have had an intention to kill somebody, or you had knowledge that your acts or your failure to act would actually result into the death of a person.
Ekigendererwa ekitabo ky'ebibonerezo akawayiro 174 kigamba nti obujulizi bulina okulaga nti wali olina ekigendererwa okutta omuntu n'oba nga ogose sikwe wali oyagala kutta, olina okubeera ng'omanyi nti bino byonna by'oli mu kukola biyinza okuviirako kufa kw'omuntu. Ekikulu kiri nti olina okuba ng'omanyi nti byonna by'ogenda okukola biyinza okuviirako omuntu okufa.
So malice aforethought is a mental element, and it is not easy to prove with direct evidence. But inferences may be made from a number of things, including the nature of the weapon used, the part of the body targeted, the nature of injuries, and the conduct of the accused person before, during, and after the commission of the offense.
Ekigendererwa kibeera mu mutwe gw'omuntu, n'olwekyo kiba kizibu nnyo okuleeta obujulizi okukiraga, naye basobola kukirabira ku bintu bingi. Ekisooka basobola kulabira ku kisi ekikozesebwa, basobola kulabira ku kitundu eky'omubiri kye bakozesa, era basobola kulabira ku biwundu oba obuvune omuntu bw'afunye, ate basobola kulabira ku neeyisa y'omuwawaabirwa mu kukola ekintu ekyo ng'akikoze oba nga tannakikola.
Prior planning or prior threats of the accused may be used to infer malice aforethought.
Omuntu okusooka kuteekateeka ekintu basobola okukiraba ne bagamba nti yali alina ekigendererwa.
To prove this ingredient, the prosecution adduced evidence from eyewitnesses to the offense, that is Phoebe and Annette, who testified that they saw the accused person aggressively and gruesomely cut the necks of the 4 children with a knife.
Nti oludda olwabi lwaleeta obujulizi bw'abantu abaaliwo nga Annette ne Phoebe, era bajja ne bagamba nti baalaba omuwawaabirwa ng'asala bubi nnyo ensingo z'abaana bano.
This evidence was corroborated by the findings of the post-mortem examinations of the 4 children's bodies and by the testimony of Dr. Katongole Abdul, who examined all of them and described the injuries on the deceased as follows.
Nti era ekyo kyongereza ku bujulizi bwa postmortem reports oba ebbaluwa ripooti omusawo gwe bayita Katongole ze yawandiika ng'amaze kwekebejja emirambo gy'abaana bano n'annyonnyola ebiwundu abaana bye baafuna nga bwe tugenda okubyogera.
And I will go in the detail of the injuries for each of the deceased children. I begin with Eteku Gideon. He is said to have had a 14-centimeter long open wound on the right side of the neck, located at 66 centimeters from the right hem of the neck. The wound was longer than its depth, characterized by smooth edge, regular margins, no bridging fibers, marginal contusion, and the wound was deep, transecting through the esophagus, trachea, internal jugular vein, cut fractures, And the above descriptions were consistent with deep cut wounds.
Tusooka ne Edteku Gideon yalina ekiwundu obugazi nga kyali kya sentimita 14 ate nga kyali ku bulago side ya ddyo nga kyali kiwanvu nnyo nga kifumitira ddala ne kyonoona ebitundu ebisinga ebyobulago era nga kiraga nti baamusala nnyo.
Okay. Keisha Ageno Roth Otim was said to have a 9 centimeter long open wound on the right side of the neck at 67 centimeters from the right hem and 1 centimeter from the anterior midline. And the wound was longer than it was deep.
Nti Keisha naye yali alina ekiwundu nga kyali kya bugazi sentimita 9 nti ate nakyo kyali ku bulago side ya ddyo nti kyali kiwanvu nnyo.
The wound was big, transecting through the skin, underlying neck muscles, the trachea, esophagus, major neck vessels, and nerves.
Nti ekiwundu kyali kiwanvu nnyo nga kiyita mu mubiri ne kisala emisuwa egisinga egy'obulago.
And he concluded, or he noted, that these findings were consistent with deep cut wounds.
Era n'agamba nti ebiwundu ebyo byaliwo olw'ensonga nti baamufumita nnyo.
Seryange Ignatius was said to have had a 14 centimeter long open wound on the right side of the neck, which was longer than it was deep.
Seryange naye yali alina ekiwundu nga kyali kya sentimita 14 ate nga bali bamusaze nnyo.
The wound was deep, transecting through the skin and underlying neck muscles, injuring the internal jugular vein.
Nti ekiwundu kyali kiwanvu nga kisala ne kiyingira ne kisalira ddala emisuwa gy'obulago.
He found that the above descriptions were consistent with deep cut injuries.
Era n'agamba nti ekiwundu kino kyajja olw'ensonga nti baamusala nnyo n'afuna obuvune.
This one also had another 4 centimeter long cut wound located on the right submandibular region. We go to Odeke Ryan, the last child. This one was said to have had a 9 centimeter long deep cut wound located on the right side of the neck. It was a deep cut wound dissecting through the underlying neck muscles, neck vessels, trachea, esophagus, and transection of a spinal cord. The cause of death for all the children was established to be hypovolemic shock due to cut wounds to the neck.
Odeke naye yali alina ekiwundu nga kyali kya sentimita 9 nga kirina ku kono y'obulago era ng'ekiwundu kino kyali kiwanvu nnyo nga kisalira ddala emisuwa egisinga egy'obulago nga kigendera ddala ku nkizi. N'agamba nti kyaviirako omwana ono okufa, baamusala nnyo n'avaamu omusaayi mungi.
All the postmortem reports for the 4 children were admitted and marked as exhibits 1, 2, 3, and 4 respectively.
Alipoota z'omusawo ze yakeberako abaana bano banna zonna baazireeta mu kooti ng'ebizibiti ekisooka, ekyokubiri, ekyokusatu n'ekyokuna.
This evidence is further corroborated by the evidence of the scene of crimes officer, Mr. Mutaka Jimmy, who visited the primary scene of crime. This is the center. Immediately after the commission of the crime, he processed it and made a report, which was admitted as PEX 10. And this is what he said, that at the center, he found the body of an infant on the veranda, and it was identified to him as that of Odeke Ryan. And he uniquely marked that body as 3. On this body, he observed one deep cut injury on the right side of the neck, with cuttings through the neck bones and muscles. And he took pictures of this body, and they are in his report on page 11 and 12.
Nti kino kyongerezebwako obujulizi bwa soko oba omupoliisi agenda mu bifo bye bazizaamu omusango bamuyita mu ttaka Jime, era yagamba nti yagirawo mu kifo ekyo n'awandiika alipoota gye baleeta ng'ekizibiti eky'okkumi, n'agamba bwe yatuuka mu kifo ekyo yasanga omwana omuto, omulambo gw'omwana omuto eyali ku kabalaza nga bali bamuyita Ryan, n'aguteekako namba 3. Agamba nti omulambo guno gwali gulina ekiwundu ekinene ku bulago, ng'ekiwundu kino kyali kisala amagumba n'emisuwa egy'obulago, era n'akuba ebifaananyi n'abiteeka mu alipoota eyo.
Shortly thereafter, he went to Wenzi Medical Center, this is the secondary scene, where he found the bodies of the 3 children, and they were identified to him as Eteku Gideon. He uniquely labeled his body number 32, Seriang Ignatius number 37, and Keisha Ageno Rotho team was labeled 39.
Omupoliisi oyo yayongera n'agenda ku Wenzi Medical Center, bwe yatuukayo ne bamulaga emirambo gy'abaana 3, Eteku n'amuteekako namba 32, Seriange n'amuteekako namba 37, ne Keisha n'amuteekako namba 39.
PW 14, this is the scenes of crimes officer, further testified that all presented similar fresh injuries of deep cuts on the right side of the neck, which went through the muscles and bones.
N'agamba nti abaana bano baali balina ebiwundu nga byagala kufaanagana, nga bonna baali balina ebiwundu mu bulago ku ddyo, ate ng'ebiwundu bino byali bisalira ddala nga bisala n'amagumba n'emisiwa y'obulago.
This court also observed the photographs of the bodies of the 4 infants and confirmed the gruesomeness of the attack on all of them, as evidenced by the nature of the injuries.
Era kooti yatunuulira ebifaananyi by'abaana abo n'ekakasa engeri abaana gye baafaamu baafa bubi.
The murder weapon, which is a knife, which caused those grave and fatal injuries on the children, was also recovered at the primary scene of crime, just behind the chain link fence, after being thrown by the accused person, and it was also admitted as evidence.
Nti era n'ekissi akambe baakafuna nga baali baakasuula wabweru ya geeti ne bakaleeta mu kooti ng'ekizibiti.
So we have those grave injuries and the knife that caused them.
Tulina ebiwundu ebyali ebibe ennyo n'akambe akaakozesebwa.
The above evidence would be sufficient to prove malice aforethought, because there would be no other inference that a person pounces on defenseless, innocent babies and goes ahead to cut their necks as if slaughtering a goat or a chicken in that accurate and precise manner, other than that of malice aforethought.
Nti era ku bujulizi obwo bulina okuba nga bumala, kubanga omuntu tasobola kugenda n'akwata obwana obuto nga tebusobola n'abusala obulago ng'asala embuzi oba enkoko.
However, the defense heavily contested this ingredient and insisted that the accused person was not in a right state of mind to form an intention to commit the offense of murder.
Nti oludda olw'omuwawaabirwa balooya be bagamba nti ebyo si bituufu, kubanga nti omuwawaabirwa omutwe gwe gwali tegukola bulungi, n'olwekyo yali tasobola kutemula.
The accused person in his unsworn statement stated that he did not act intentionally or deliberately, and although there were claims that he was completely mentally okay, there may have been other mental challenges that may have gone undetected, which could have contributed to the death of the children. He insisted he was not mentally okay.
nti bwe yali ayewozaako teyalayira naye n'agamba nti ye kino teyakikola mu bugenderere. N'agamba wadde nti bagamba nti omutwe gwe gwali gukola bulungi naye bayinza okubawo ebintu ebirala bye bataategeera ebiyinza okuba nga byamuviirako okukola ebyo bye yakola. N'akakatizza ensonga egamba nti ye omutwe gwe tegukola bulungi.
Gwali tegukola bulungi.
Omutwe gwe gwali tegukola bulungi.
The accused also denied being foul-minded in the killing of the children, and in respect to this, he made reference to the book. I already talked about that, but this is